Well, hey again, everyone. It's Rob Ryder on Friday, December 8th, 2023. And today, talking about 31 USC, United States Code, subsection 3702, authority to settle claims. To see what that's all about. And before I go too far, in my last video, one of the comments was from Healing Temple Ministry, which at the time I was talking about us being, well, let's look at it real quick. On duty, even when involuntarily absent, right? And I was going through some different statutes and so forth. And anyways, that's where the comment is on that video. If I try to answer the comment on the video, both my answer and the comment will disappear, right? It's a YouTube thing. So I can't answer it that way. But I do want to know more, right? Because he said, on point, Staff Sergeant, help me with the foreclosure contract. Those 3 videos help get class action and arbitration awards after the vet was evicted and lost his home and job back in 2018. Has just received ARB, which I believe is arbitration award. Do the research, people. Follow his breadcrumbs. Well, first of all, I've given you everything I have, or more than breadcrumbs. It's everything I can find. Right? And even I don't know exactly what you're talking about because I've done over 500 videos. So what 3 videos are we talking about and what exactly happened? So Healing Temple Ministry, if you please could, email me at courtofrecord@aol.com and tell me the rest of the story. So today I'm Rutluski Robert Allen, enlistee, also known as Rob Ryder. I figure if they can use my name in gosh knows how many different variations, well, so can I. And that's actually the one that's on my DD Form 4, Rutluski Robert Allen. That is the enlistee that enlisted into the Armed Forces of the United States. And if you've enlisted, you have the same thing. So, so here's what happened since this last video, right? Let's see, what was I doing there? So in this video, then, one of the things I just pointed out is in Title 37, I believe this is the United States Code. It's either that or CFR. I can't tell you right now, but let's say it's for have to call something. It's USC. 37 USC, right? That chapter is pay and allowances for the uniformed services. And in here it talks about payments to missing persons. Well, these missing persons, if you go into AR Army Regulation 600-8-6, or whatever your branch of service is, your personal accounting and strength reporting guidelines, regulation, whatever it is, right? How do they account for the personnel? That's what this was talking about in here. And so one of the many things it says in here is, it's just quicker if I do this. Hang on a second here. Where'd you go? All right, standards of service. Soldier accountability is the responsibility of commanders at all echelons during peacetime, mobilization, combat, and other types of deployments. Commanders and staff will ensure 100% PA, which is personal accountability, of all personnel for the duration of their military service. Unit commanders will account for their assigned and attached personnel by verifying their their full name, Department of Defense Common Access Card with electronic data interchange, personnel identifier, and or full Social Security number. Right, PA, personal accountability, is the recording and visibility of by name management of the location and duty status of all personnel assigned or attached to the unit. The PA, personal accountability system of record for all personnel serving in regular Army and all components in wartime environment is E-MIL-PO. Well, we're in a wartime environment. I'm saying I was never discharged from the military because I don't have a discharge order. So I'm still in the regular Army. And so, I should be in this system called e-milpo, whatever the hell that is. So what you find out is even, when you're on duty, there's like at least 20 different duty status codes under on duty. So in any of these categories, you would still be considered on duty. And if you're on duty, according to your DD Form 4, you're supposed to be paid, right? So even if you're AWOL, you're getting paid. It's just going into an account, right? Until you show up, get it cleared up, that kind of stuff. But everybody's being paid. And it gives a list in here of all these different duty status codes. You see, you got ones like captured, soldier captured by enemy forces. Well, that's what happens to soldiers. They get captured. You got MIA, which is missing in action. You got MIS, which is just missing. Soldiers whose whereabouts and status are unknown, provided the absence appears to be involuntary. The type of casualty code can either be hostile or non-hostile, only authorized to use. So, you could be missing. And they have another thing here about being dropped from the strength, which means then you come off the numbers, so you don't show up in the Army's numbers anymore. But you can still be paid if it ever gets straightened out. You can still be paid. Yeah, right here. Soldiers who are outside of military control and whose date of RMC, which is return to military control, is uncertain, will not be counted as part of the active duty end strength. And so these soldiers fall in the following two accounting categories. Drop from the rolls. These soldiers DFR and do not remain a member of the reporting unit. See paragraph 412. And then drop from strength. These soldiers are dropped from the accountability of the Army. However, they are DFS, dropped from strength of the Army for personal strength accounting purposes. Exclusion from regular Army strength does not by itself affect status as a regular Army service member. DFS personnel may remain entitled to pay and benefits, except for prisoners of war and POW personnel, POWs and missing personnel. They remain a member of the reporting unit until separated from service or until they are reassigned by a higher authority. Yada, 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 whatever that is. So I'm saying, okay, I could be missing, right? Because Rutluski Robert Allen went into the MEP station to enlist, but Rutluski Robert A is the individual, the fiction, that went to Fort Hood, Texas with an order in the name Rutluski Robert A. Right? Rutluski Robert Allen never left the MEP station in Detroit. And so just to show you, right, it's a DD Form 4. If you enlisted, you have one of these, right? They put your name backwards, Rutluski Robert Allen. Now, this is actually my second one of these. I was served for 3 years, got out for a year, went back in. And on the first time around, it was Rutluski, Robert Allen. But whatever they put in there, right, is the name of the enlistee. Then they got your social security number. And then, you fill this thing out, and eventually you get to this last page here where I, Robert Allen Rutluski, not Rutluski Robert Allen, do solemnly swear I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. Da-da-da-da. I acknowledge that the oath above has been administered to me, and I have sworn or affirmed the same. And then they want you to put your signature, right? And, they put the X. I don't remember putting an X. I mean, there's no reason for me to put an X in the line. So somebody put an X in there, and I scribbled behind it. Well, that's the way they used to do, like Indians and, people who couldn't read English. They put an X, and you put an X next to your name. That's your signature, right? So there you go. That's my signature, X Robert Allen Rutluski. But, we have this thing where the oath is in one form of the name and the person enlisted, right? The identification data is in another form of the name. So this is the form I'm going to use for what I'm going to do now. Say, okay, well, that's who enlisted according to their system. Go on. So Rutluski Robert Allen. Well, the order I got to leave that place, right, was for Rutluski Robert A. Right? Excuse me, this isn't the one leaving there. This is actually the one getting out of the military, my transition point. But they are both the same. Rutluski Robert A. got the order, not Rutluski Robert Allen. So where's Rutluski Robert Allen, the enlistee that has the contract that I'm still enlisted because we've always been in war, right? And under Title 10, United States Code, Section 506, if you enlist during a war, you stay enlisted until 6 months after the war. But if you enlist and a war starts, you stay in until after the war. So I joined during the Cold War, which is a conflict. I mean, they consider it a conflict. So I joined during a war, which ended in 1991, like December 1991. But sometime before that, just before that, we got into the Gulf War. So another war started, right? Well, you could add on top of that then, well, we've had the war on drugs, war on terror, the Gulf War, Afghan War, war. We're always at war. Always been at war. So you're a soldier for life. Once you're in, you're in. And if you're a soldier for life and you're an enlistee, according to your DD Form 4, it says that entitled to receive pay allowances and other benefits as provided by law and regulation. That's all we're trying to do. Get what's ours. We're not asking for a handout, right? I have a contract. I'm just trying to enforce my freaking contract. And so, as I have been trying to do, I've been sending things to the transition point of the last place I served to say, hey, there's an error in the records, blah, 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 try to explain it to them. I'd gone to the IG of Human Resource Command. I'd gone to different offices to Human Resource Command. Yeah, they can't get nobody to do nothing, right, about this issue that, what happened to Rutluski Robert Allen? He's the enlistee. Well, then after the video I did, I started, searching some more for stuff. And because I was going to redo a claim I have with the VA, I was kind of looking at VA stuff. And the VA has this Board of Veterans Appeals. And it went into here and it said the jurisdiction of the board. Right now, this is 32 or 38 CFR. If you put in 38 CFR, you get the whole thing to do with the VA for benefits and pensions and so forth through the VA. 38 CFR 20.104, which says that they have jurisdiction over character, discharge, and determination as to duty status. Well, I just showed you a regulation in the Army, right, where they talk about duty statuses. All these are duty statuses. Duty status codes. What's my code that goes with my duty status? Well, who would have thought that the VA could, make a determination? So, I was going to try to go to the VA to put in something about that, and I was trying to find a VA approved, accredited, I think is the proper term, a VA accredited agent. Not a service rep and not an attorney. I want the one called the agent. And I found a couple of wrote them. I haven't heard back. And, who knows what these people are doing. But anyways, duty status. Well, okay, so while I'm waiting, I'm looking some more. And I come across that in the United States Court of Federal Claims, right, you have to fill out this cover sheet. If you go to the second page of the cover sheet, it's got all the shit on here about pay, civilian pay or military pay. Well, outstanding. I was going to put in something into this court about military pay. But it's like $400 to put a case in. It's like, I'm not going to pay that. I'm not going to go say I'm a pauper, because as soon as you say that, you've given up your rights. But I talked about a way that the United States, that basically I could be ex-rel to the United States being the plaintiff. Like the United States would be my agent. Right? So I was looking at doing that and so forth and so on. And but the next thing I find is that I'm looking at this law here, which is in Title 31, United States Code, Section 3702, authority to settle claims. So, except as provided in this chapter or another law, all claims of or against the United States government shall be settled as follows. The Secretary of Defense shall settle claims involving uniformed service members' pay, allowances, travel, transportation, payments for unused accrued leave, retired pay, and survivor benefits. Well, they just told you got to contact Secretary of Defense. He can settle the damn claim. See, my claim isn't that there's errors in my DD-214, which may have been before, but no, that's not the fucking problem, right? That's just the evidence that there is a problem. What the problem is that I'm missing, and I'm not being accounted for by the military, although they're the ones that say I'm a soldier for life. Hell, they got it on the website, soldier for life. Right? So how come I'm not seen as a soldier for life? How come I don't have an ID card? How come I have to go to civilian courts? I should be subject to the UCMJ. If somebody has a problem with me, take me to the post. All these things are true, but you can't ever seem to get them done. But turns out that under finance and money and finance, Title 31 United States Code, under 3702, that the Secretary of Defense shall settle claims involving uniformed service members' pay, allowances, travel, transportation, payments for unused accrued leave, retired pay, survivor benefits, and claims by transportation carriers involving amounts collected from them for loss or damage incurred to property incident to shipment of. Right? And then Office of Personnel Management, well, they're going to take care of civilian employees. And Administrator of General Services, he's got something to do with civilian employees. The Director of Office Management and Budget, is going to take care of something to do with shall settle claims not otherwise provided for by this section or other provisions of law. So why this is important is because they're supposed to be accounting for the appropriated funds. So military pay is an appropriated fund. Right? Now, most everything you can think of that's, that Congress does, that they appropriate the funds, it's an appropriated fund. And these agencies are supposed to make sure that money is being spent properly or going to the right place or whatever's supposed to happen. And this all used to be under the GAO, the Government Accounting Office, and then back in, the late 90s, they split it up somehow and went over here, and, I'm not an expert at any of it. All I know is, well, it says the Secretary of Defense is the one I need to talk to about a claim for pay. So I will. So a claim against the United States presented under this section must contain the signature and address of the claimant or an authorized representative. Right? They'd be like a next of kin or somebody like that, right? So even if the veteran is deceased, they still have his money in this account, as we're going to see. The claim must be received by the official responsible under subsection A, Secretary of Defense, for settling the claim, or by the agency that conducts the activity from which the claim arises within 6 years after the claim occurs, except, well, okay, I'm not doing that one. I'm doing the first one. All right, I'm going to take the Secretary of the Defense. So I'm thinking, because they're always writing these things using smoke and mirrors. So either you go to the Secretary of Defense, or you would go to your branch. But if you go to your branch, you can only go back 6 years. I don't know. Right? So, except for provided by this chapter or other law, and so what that means is, we come over here, we can see that the Secretary of Defense may waive the time limitation set forth in B or C in the case of claim referred to A1A, which are these, right, to do with pay, that will be resolved by the Secretary of Defense. He will settle it. Outstanding. I want to write to the Secretary, which is what I'm working on doing right now. And then, you know, the DoD, they have all these directives and instructions and so forth, and like so they call it the DoD Department of Defense Directive or DoD D 1340-20, settlement or settling personal and general claims and processing advanced decision request. References, there's that is, Section 3702, Title 31, United States Code. Now, these are things that are happening within the DoD, right? From the inside. This is internal. This is like making the sausage, right? So it doesn't really have anything to do with me. It's what they're going to do. I've already been told what I need to do. I need to contact the Secretary of Defense and, you know, make sure I give them my signature, which we looked at. I mean, what's my signature? Well, I'm going to use this one down here, the one I used on my DD Form 4, right? I'm going to put an X and write my name next to it. That's my signature. Okay, and in this directive, it says what the purpose is, right? The directive establishes policy and assigns responsibilities for settling personal and general claims under references A through H. Well, here's A through E, and I'm right now just concerned about the first one. And for processing requests for advanced decisions under reference I. Excellent. Well, again, 3702 said, you know, that it's the Secretary of the Defense that's going to settle the claim. But when you get into here, it says that it's a DoD policy that the claim settlement and advanced decisions authorities that by statute or delegation are vested in the Department of Defense or Secretary of Defense shall be exercised by the official designated in this directive. Enclosure 3 describes claims included under these functions and so forth. So actually, it's going to be the General Counsel, right? He's got the Department of Defense is going to be settle claims that the Secretary of Defense is authorized to settle under reference A through H. So he's actually going to settle it. But the law says you got to write to the Secretary of the Defense. So I think the Secretary of Defense is going to become our agent in the settlement of this claim by the Department of Defense. And he's going to tell the General Counsel, go settle this claim. And the General Counsel then, or the DoD, is going to contact the branch and say, hey, what happened to Ritluski Robert Allen? All right, because I'm going to send him out my DD Form 4 and my transition order and, you know, a couple pieces of paper like that. And, you know, they all know what's going on. It's just no one's ever asked them before. Okay, so that's, you know, that's how that worked. That this is, you know, internally written for what's going to happen after you contact the Secretary of Defense, but we need to contact the Secretary of Defense. Okay, so that was the directive, and now this is the instruction, which, you know, has a lot of the same verbiage in it. There's the 3702, Title 31, check. That's what we're looking for. Claims shall be settled, advanced decisions rendered in accordance with all pertinent statutes and regulations. Well, the statute says contact the Secretary of Defense. Good enough for me. That's who we're going to. And then what are the defined terms? A member is a member or former member of the Uniformed Services. Claim a demand for money or property under reference B through I. Submitting a claim, the procedure a claimant must file a submitted claim are in Enclosure 5. So, okay, am I going to do that? Because that didn't say, I didn't have no procedure to follow. It just said in the law, I got to contact the frickin' Secretary of Defense. It didn't say follow no procedure. Make sure to give them my signature or my address. So I'm just saying, okay, he's the one that's going to do this, right? This is going to be done with the Secretary of Defense acting as our agent. The procedure of a DoD component must follow in process and claim are in Enclosure 6. We may look at those. Well, what I really wanted to show was claims description. Right, that this little note right here. So reference B, which is 3102, right, the 31 USD 3702, concerning claims in general where there is no other settlement authority specifically provided for by law. And it says go down to 2, and that says this includes claims involving uniformed services member pay, allowances, travel, transportation payment, and unused accrued leave, retirement pay, survivor benefits. Right? That this is the only place in law to get relief, to follow what it says to do in 31 USC 3702, which says, right, the Secretary of Defense shall settle claims. Claim against the government under this section must contain signature and address of claimant and other authorized person. The claim must be received by the official responsible under subsection A for settling the claim, or by the agency that conducts the activity from which the claim arises within 6 years after the claim occurs, except, well, I'm not going to the branch. I've already been there trying to get something done. I'll go to the Secretary of Defense, the guy that's listed in 1. See, because when you go here and say, well, submitting the claim, any person, claimant, may submit a claim who has demand for money or property against the government under B through I, B being 31 USC 3702. But it says a claimant must submit a claim to the component concerned. Well, that isn't what it told me to do. The law said for me to send it to the secretary. So who would send it to the component if this is how it has to be done according to this instruction, right? Well, if the general counsel is going to settle claims for the Secretary of the Defense, then apparently general counsel is going to be the one sending it to the component concerned with guidance approved by the component, in accordance with guidance approved by. So they know that stuff. So I'm saying this isn't for us to do, but this is just what's happening on the inside. Because I thought I had to do it this way at first. I said, well, this isn't matching up with what the law says. And finally the light went on and said, well, shit, I just need to do what the law says and let them figure out how they're going to do these parts. But it's been written down for them how to do it. There is a procedure for it to be done. So knowing all that, I wrote this up here over the last day or so and just getting ready to put it in the mail today. Because, if you Google what's the mailing address of the Secretary of Defense, well, Google will tell you. Lloyd J. Austin III, Secretary of Defense, 1000 Defense Pentagon, Washington, D.C., 20301-1000. Now, it's interesting because the Pentagon isn't in Washington, D.C. But Lloyd, the Secretary of Defense is, right? So it's like, well, that's the seat of government. So, at least I believe that to be true. The Pentagon, I do not believe, is in, in Washington, D.C. proper. It's like isn't it in Arlington? That may be wrong. Anyway, so I have to go look. But nevertheless, that's where it's going. That's the address I was given. Claim for pay and allowances under provisions of 31 U.S.C. 3702, authority to settle claims. So, Mr. Secretary, according to subsection 3702 of Title 31 of the United States Code, that'd be your 31 U.S.C. 3702, the Secretary of Defense shall settle claims involving uniformed services members' pay, allowances, travel, transportation payments for unused accrued leave, retired pay, and survivor benefits. It's like I cut and pasted that right out of the law. Well, that's exactly what I did. Sir, I am a voluntary enlistee who enlisted under name Ritluski Robert Allen during the Cold War by subscribing my signature on a DD Form 4 enlistment reenlistment document, Armed Forces United States. Hang on a second, on February 2nd, 1983. Countersigned the same day by an enlisting officer of the Armed Forces United States in acknowledgement of my accession as a member of the Armed Forces United States for service in a regular component of the Armed Forces, particularly the Army. My wartime enlistment was made indefinite under provisions of 10 U.S.C. 506. And we're going to take a minute to go look at that. So hang on just a second here. Copy that. And 10 U.S.C. 506 says an enlistment in the regular Army, regular Navy, regular Air Force, regular Marine Corps, or regular Coast Guard in effect at the beginning of a war, or entered during war, unless sooner terminated by the President, continues in effect until 6 months after termination of the war. Well, we're always at war, so until you're terminated by the President, you're still in the frickin' military. I went in during the Cold War, and when I was in, they started and during that time of the Cold War, they started the Gulf War. So, they overlapped. I just continued on. It's almost like, that stuff is done for a reason. Okay. And even though the Cold War supposedly ended, it was still ongoing when the war on drugs, Gulf War, and a number of other conflicts, some of which were still ongoing when we engaged in the war on terror, war in Afghanistan, and other conflicts that are still ongoing. Sir, we've had no peace in my lifetime. And the President has not released me in accordance with 10 U.S.C. 506. I, Rutluski Robert Allen, I am still enlisted. A soldier for life entitled to pay allowances and other benefits under the terms of the DD Form 4. And I must be issued and possess a DD Form 2 identification card, or the United States will be in violation of Geneva Conventions and the DoD Law War Manual. Be advised that I am subject to military justice under the UCMJ, not civilian courts of the United States of America. It really had nothing to do with my claim, but I wanted to put it in there. Because it really has everything to do with my claim. I'm not in their jurisdiction. My current duty status is likely involuntarily absent, missing, perhaps unaccounted for, and dropped from strength, but I have no way of knowing without your verification, as I've contacted a number of United States Army Human Resource Command offices, MEP station commander, transition points, etc., without success resolving the issue. What I do know is that according to Army Regulation 600-8-6, soldiers' accountability is the responsibility of commanders at all echelons during peacetime, mobilization, combat, and other types of deployments. Commanders and their staff will ensure 100% personnel accountability, PA, of all personnel for the duration of their military service. Unit commanders will account for their assigned and attached personnel by verifying their full name, Department of Defense, Common Access Card with electronic data interchange, personal identifier, and or full Social Security number. PA, personal accountability, is the recording and visibility of by name management of the location and duty status of all personnel assigned or attached to a unit. The personnel accountability, PA, system of record for all personnel serving in the regular Army and all components in wartime environments is eMilPO. Various sections, that comes out of various sections of paragraph 2-2. I'd like to add that my OMPF, my official military personnel folder, and a congressional inquiry prove I was not issued a separation order, separating Rutluski Robert Allen from the custody and control of the regular Army. And so if you didn't know, I contacted my congressman to say I want you to help me get a copy of my discharge order. And so he contacted the National Records place who sent him my records. They sent them to me. And in those records, there's no discharge order. Well, a congressional inquiry just proved I wasn't discharged. So, in fact, I've never received any Department of the Army order in the enlistee's name, Rutluski Robert Allen. All but one Department of the Army orders apparently issued to me since February 2nd, 1983 are in the name Rutluski Robert A. And the one exception is in the name Robert A. Rutluski. Go figure. Flip them around. The last, most recent order in my OMPF assigned Rutluski Robert A. to a transition point at Fort Belvoir, Virginia. In every case, these orders use the Social Security number of Rutluski Robert Allen, right, the enlistee, combined with a fictitious name. It's as if Ritluski Robert Allen never left Mepps, Detroit, Michigan, and was replaced by a likeness, Ritluski Robert A., and has resulted in my missing duty status. This defect could be construed as identity theft, the unlawful taking of my property, and misappropriation of United States government funds that adversely affects the United States and myself, or it is a correctable mistake. Under provisions of Title 37, pay and allowances of uniform services of the United States Code, during this time that Ritluski Robert Allen has had a captive status, pay has been going into a savings fund set up by the Secretary of Treasury, where it is wisely invested. And now that I have perhaps returned from the dead or reappeared from an excusable absence, I'd like to collect my pay and allowances. Sir, according to paragraph 223, reporting ascension to regular Army of AR 600-8-6, ascension will be reported through email pro by branches of the MPD, Military Personnel Departments. When soldier, RMC, from a DFR or DFS status, which is return to military control, from a drop from record or drop from strength status, were erroneously reported as separated, DFR or DFS. They have been erroneously omitted from the Army personnel databases and other stated reasons. All right, so that came out of 2.3, reporting ascension to the regular Army. So, of course, if you're in the Navy or Marines or something, you're going to have some place where they reported ascensions to the regular Marine Corps, the regular Navy, the regular Air Force, whatever it is. And this is the section in here where it talks about ascensions will be reported through email pro to branches of the Military Personnel Division, yada, 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 right, for these particular reasons, and RMC of the DFR and or DFS. Yeah, DFR is dropped from roles, which is different than DFS, which is dropped from strength. You're dropped from the roles is like saying you're no longer in the military. I'm guessing. But whatever it is, if it was done by mistake, well, fix the mistake. I never left. I was on this missing status. If you're missing, you have to be paid just like you were on duty. So it is my belief that I must be returned to military control, RMC, with an on-duty status that allows me to settle all accounts, collect back pay and allowances, and retire. Did you know you need to be on active duty, on duty to retire? Right, so this is part of, return to military control, be put on duty status so you can clear up the paperwork, and in my case, time to retire. I respectfully request you act as my United States government agent to make this happen. 31 U.S.C. 3702E1 allows Secretary of Defense may waive the time limitation set forth in B or C in this claim in the case of a claim referred to in A1A, and I pray that is what you do. All right, type, name, social security number of claimant, just like they had on my DD Form 4. So now I'm going to, use my DD Form 4 as a guide and say, well, where was it? Here, that one was there, but they had it here too, right? Type, name, social security of applicant, re-enlistee. Ritluski Robert Allen with social security number. Signature of applicant, Ritluski or Robert Allen Ritluski. So apparently that's my signature for that name. We've all agreed. This is just, my scribble I put for my name. It isn't. This name is what the X is for. That's who we're talking about. Now I put my scribble next to it. That's what I think's going on. So anyways, we'll find out. I'm going to send it in and see what the man has to say. I'll send him a copy of my DD Form 4, my transition order. I won't send him the regulation. He can get his own copy. Copy of 31 USC 3702. And yeah, that's probably about it. You don't need much more. So, anyways, that's what I'm working on today is to finish up putting into a package whatever it is I need to sign or send to him. But I needed to get this done because I have a pressing issue I got to deal with that, and then next week we get into 12 days of Christmas, and pretty soon there's no time and you won't get an answer, or even get it to him until the middle of January. So I want to try to get it to him now and get it in the mail. So that's what I can tell you. If you are enlisted, in my case, I have a copy of my DD Form 4. I'm just showing you what they show, right? But if you wanted to get a copy of yours, you need to get your records from the source of records, the National Record Center or whatever the hell it is. And you'll find in there, the DD Form 4, the DD Form 1966, which is the two documents that create your ascension into the military. And you'll find a copy of the DD 214 and all of its errors that it contains, and you'll find orders in there, and you start looking, say, well, the names on the orders don't match the names of the DD Form 4. There seems to be a problem here. Right? The guy that went in the door at MEPS never left. He must be missing. But he's in the military because we have his DD Form 4, and so we got to pay him. If he ever shows up, I guess he'll get his pay. So Reluski Robert Allen is going to try to show up and get paid. Okay, very good. You all have a nice day, weekend, whatever. And I'm out of here. We'll see you now.